listening to the 7 letters that the glorified, resurrected Christ gave in a revelation to the Apostle John to give to 7 churches that are now Western Turkey. And we've been learning some things from these letters and about their application towards us. We're 6 weeks through the series. It was an 8-week series. We have 2 churches left, Philadelphia and Laodicea, and we will hit those in the next 2 weeks, finishing the series on Labor Day. So for today, we put a pause on the series because we have a very special group of people that we're going to be interacting with and listening to and learning from. So today, kind of the message time is going to be a 3-part interview. So I will begin with really our dear friend and sister who has been so faithful to her calling and just to pouring her life out for the sake of the kingdom. If you guys would give a great big welcome, we're going to start with Debbie Carver. So Debbie, come on. We are so thankful to have you here this morning, Debbie. We know that it has been quite a journey for you in particular over the last 18 months or so. But for those of you who maybe there are some who don't know you, I was thinking that we could begin by just sharing a little bit about Our Father's Persistent Love, the ministry, what it is, and really, after you explain that, like why it is that you have chosen, of all the things that you could have done with your life, to invest your life on behalf of those who are incarcerated in our jails and prisons across New Jersey. Because there are lots of things you could have done, but you've chosen this. And so if you could share a little bit about the ministry and why it is you do what you do.
Sure, thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for this opportunity to share. And I just want to thank you, the worship team. It was just really an awesome time at worship. Yeah. I just want to apologize. I'm a little weepy today. When you come and you share about what God's doing in your life and you see lives changed, it just breaks me up. It just makes me cry. And I'm just really grateful for Our Father's Persistent Love Ministries. It's a prison ministry. I've been doing prison ministry for 24 years, going on 24 years. And I was a missionary in Brazil for 5 years, and they kicked me out. Not really, but they wouldn't renew my visa, so the Lord saw fit to bring me home, and we know that God works through all that, right? Even though I had learned the language, I had a home, I was all established over there, the Lord just said, okay, you're done there. So I was there for 5 years, and then the Lord brought me suddenly home, and then I said, what next, Lord? And I never wanted to be a missionary. I always told Lord, please, no, don't send me anywhere, especially to Africa, because I don't want to be bit by a scorpion or something. And the Lord chose to send me to Brazil. And He really changed my life in that time. I worked with Word of Life there, and it was an amazing time. And I think the Lord used that time to prepare me for prison ministry. He really taught me to love people. And it was hard living in Brazil. And so He brought me home, and somebody came up to me, and her name was Jane Frank, and I was looking for some type of ministry. I felt like the Lord wanted me to continue on in ministry. I was very excited. I was very on fire for God. And she said, what about prison ministry? And I said, prison ministry? I don't know anything about prison. I said, I never smoked a cigarette in my life. What can I offer? Yeah, so I was just like, all right, Lord, if this is what you want me to do, then you know what, when God calls you to do something and He's put it on your heart, you just do it. And you know what, I didn't know anything. I didn't know what I was doing. I went into the jails. I didn't even know what to say. And so I kind of went in with another pastor, and he kind of showed me the ropes, and then he stopped coming, and then I was there by myself, and I'm like, oh no, I better prepare something. So I started in Freehold County Jail over 20 years ago. And and that was my beginning ground. And now we're in like 8 different jails, 4 different county jails. And you know what, it's just amazing what God has done. When you just humble yourself, and I'm not saying I'm a humble person, but God is humbling me. And just say, okay, God, I surrender all my areas of my life. Just do what you want me to do. It's incredible what He does with you. And I would have never thought that I would be doing what I'm doing. And it's just amazing. So did I answer that question?
I think so. So you've been doing this for quite some time, and you're just as best you're able, responsive to what God has called you to. But a lot of times when we do what God calls us to, it's not always so easy, is it?
Yeah.
Sometimes there's real hardship and difficulty, and we could talk for a long time about that over the course, but like in particular, the last couple of years have been super hard for you. Could you maybe, I know some of our church knows a little bit about what you've been going through, but maybe you could share just a little bit about that?
Yeah, I burned out. Surprise, surprise, right? I wanted to do everything. I wanted to help everybody. I wanted to answer everybody's needs, and it just got to be the point where I was running myself ragged, and doing ministry for 24 years, not really taking a break, I just totally, my body just tanked out. I don't know if any of you ever got there. All of a sudden, my family came up to me and said, Deb, we think there's something wrong with you. And I'm like, there's nothing wrong with me. And I was in denial. And I had been running on adrenaline. I had lost like 30 pounds. My mind, I couldn't think straight. I was having a lot of digestive issues. I tried every single diet, gluten-free, took everything out of my diet that I possibly could do to try to help my acid reflux, and nothing was happening. And I became depressed. I was full of anxiety. I never had anxiety before. I was never depressed before. And all of a sudden, I found myself laying on the couch, not being able to do anything. And I was like, God, what is wrong with me? What is wrong? And, I went to the doctor. Everything was fine. They didn't find anything, major. And I was just, God, what do you want? What do you want from me? I want to be in ministry. I want to be helping people. And I'm laying on the couch. I can't even think straight. I can't even do anything. So I ended up living with 3 different families because I couldn't even take care of myself. And I ended up down in North Carolina. And I was sitting on a dock one day, and I wasn't getting any better. I was living with people, but I wasn't getting any better. And I said, God, what is wrong with me? And I said, just speak to me, just show me. And I've been trying to figure out what to do and what the next step should be for my life. And the Lord put on my heart that I needed to go to rehab because I was really bad. That wasn't because of a drug issue, because I just worn myself out. So I'm like, Lord, where should I go? And there was 2 places I was considering. One was Barbara's Place down at Keswick. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Keswick. Another was out in Indiana. And I just was like, God, where? So I'm on the dock, I'm crying. I'm like, just like bring a bird down or write something in the sky or just show me something, speak to me. And it was really amazing. I had been praying about Barbara's Place. I've been praying about Vision of Hope. And all of a sudden, this man came out of the water with his boat. And he was talking to a friend of his like 50 yards away. And he said to his friend, kind of in a soft voice, but I could hear it, he said, email Barbara. And I was like, what did that guy just say? What? And did he say email Barbara? And then he said it louder, email Barbara. And I'm like, wow, is that where you want me to go, to Barbara's Place, God? And you know what? God confirmed it in my heart that that's where he wanted me to go. And like, God had never spoken to me like that before. I mean, to my heart and my mind, but like out loud like that, showing me. I was in such a desperate place that I didn't care what I heard. I just needed direction. So I ended up going to Barbara's Place for 6 months. And I sat under their rehab ministry. And of course, I've been sending people to rehab for 20 years. Saying, you need to go to rehab, you need to go to rehab. And now the Lord was saying, you know what, Deb, you need to go to rehab. So I ended up in rehab, and it really taught me a lot. It taught me how to live with people that have addictions. And let me just tell you this, I was in a really dark place. But when you get there and you lose all hope and you're depressed, you know what? God always has a plan for your life, even no matter how dark it is. And God showed me that he's true, that he's there. I never had this issue before in my life. I never had anxiety. I never had depression. But when you get to that dark place and you feel like there's no way out, you know what? God proves himself real. And he brought me out. He brought me through. And I'm not 100% yet, but I'm getting there.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. I have been here for 23 years, Labor Day, and there's so much that I have learned and so many hard, dark places that I've personally gone through myself. I always find it easier when you're on the other end and you're serving people who are in those dark places. But when you're in that space yourself, there's the loneliness and the despair that you personally feel, but there's also like the guilt of, I should be doing my job. Others are relying on me, and it's kind of like a double weight. And I think the beauty of redemption stories, because everybody loves a good redemption story. We all love a good redemption story. But when it happens and is happening to us, it then becomes that much more profound. And I think that's what, has been happening and is happening. We don't tell stories from, this is what my life used to be, and now look at who I am. There's always this process. And even when we get through that dark valley, we still know that because life is hard, there are going to be other places that we have to go through. So we need God desperately in the hard and in the easy. And so we're just so thankful that you've been able to navigate that space, to take a time out, to step back, to look at your life, to listen to God, and that He is resurrecting that which was dying in you. We're so proud of and thankful for you, Debbie. So we're really glad.
I want to just mention one thing. It's one thing to be able to count on some people who go through anxiety and depression, but when you've gone through it yourself, it's a whole different story. And I counsel people in the jail, they have anxiety, they're having terrible anxiety, they're having panic attacks, they can't sleep at night, and, they're really depressed, and they just see no way out. And you know what, I can actually cry with them now, because I've been through it, I get it, I understand. It's like life-consuming. And I know you probably understand, some people understand that in here, but there's a whole different level to my counseling now because I've experienced it and been through it, and I know you understand that.
Yeah, it's good, thank you. So I'm going to step down for a moment, and I'm going to ask you, we have 3 special guests. I'm going to ask you to invite Natalia, introduce her, because we've not met her as a congregation, but please give a great big welcome to Natalia.
Hi, my name is Natalia. I'm from Russia.
Hold on one second. I'm going to introduce her. Hold on one second. Okay, so I met Natalia in Hudson County Jail. Hudson County Jail has an immigration unit on it, and I just love this jail. It's one of my favorite jails. It's way up in Kearney. It takes me over an hour and 15, 20 minutes fighting traffic to get up there, but I just love being up there. I'm up there on Tuesday mornings from 11 to 1 o'clock, and I meet people from all over the world. It's amazing. And most of them have immigration issues, and anyway, 2 years ago I met Natalia. And Natalia and I couldn't really communicate very well when I first met her, and because she was from Russia, and her English wasn't all that great. But you know what? I was able to get her a Bible, and she started reading the Word of God. And actually, she got saved in Rikers Island, and she's going to share a little bit of her story. So I hope you're blessed, because you know what? Sometimes it's hard coming and pouring out your life to people who you don't even know, and they don't know you. But you know what? She's really awesome, and she's going to share a little bit of her story. So thank you.
So I was on drugs 22 years, crack and heroin.
Can you hear? Is it better this one? Yeah.
I don't like to speak on this. And I was on drugs 22 years, crack and heroin. And one day I buy drugs, I'm walking home, and I'm talking to the God. And I tell him, God, I know I go to hell, because when I stand in front of your throne, I have nothing to tell you. I even didn't read Bible in my life. So it's past maybe 5 or 7 years, I end up in jail, and immigration jail, and something to pull me to the Bible study. So I didn't speak English this time, and Debbie, she in the fingers, she asked me, do you have a Bible? I say no. So next time she bring me the Bible, and when she give me this Bible, she say, this is God give you. And when I take this Bible in my hands, God say, you ask me the Bible, read it now. So since this time, every day I read my Bible. And Debbie, we was girls angry and lost in jail. And Debbie was like little light shining in the darkness. She's always calm and nice, pray for us and bring music, Chris Tomlin, and we need people like that.
Why don't you tell a little bit about how you got saved in Rikers Island, how you first came to know Jesus there and then came over to Hudson County?
Yeah, they just God revealed Himself to me. One time I pray, I said, God, thank you for my heart, and I see big vision, smile of God, and like that people see that. And after He bring people and close to my bunk, and I asked some girl, how you pray? She said, pray to Jesus, forgive me my sin. And I pray since this time, I think I'm born again.
Okay, so when did you start reading the Bible?
Huh?
When did you start reading your Bible?
When you give me the Bible.
Smart Alec. Okay, so anyway, so she got saved in Rikers Island, and how long you were there? How long were you in Rikers
So
Island?
5 months and 14 months in immigration, and I never miss Bible study.
Yeah. She, actually, tell her the time that you didn't want to come to Bible study, when you weren't feeling well.
Yeah, I hear some voice. He told me, like 3 times I hear this voice from this side. He say, they become, and somebody call me, that was Bible study, did you come? And I hear the voice say, no, say you tired. And I turn around, I say, no, I'm tired, I go sleep. And something pull me again, I was take my Bible, and I go to the Bible study. And that was 3 times like this. And say, I understand it was like bad voice.
Tell them about the story. These are like really cool little neat stories. Tell them a story about how you wanted to have a program on the TV so you could just get fed.
God teach me step by step everything, like forgive people, how to pray. That prayer is so important and powerful. So that was in immigration have a 2 TV, Spanish and American, and girls from Jamaica, they never want to share TV, and I know there was some movie about Jesus Christ, and my friend from Africa, and I tell her, watch, I'm gonna pray, I go on my knees, and I'm gonna pray, and there was 5 girls from Jamaica, they're watching like some shows, Kardashians, and I say, I go pray, you will see God gonna move these people. So I go pray, I go on my knees, I pray, I say, God, we want to watch movie about Jesus Christ. So I come back, maybe like 7 minutes, every girl stand up and go sleep. And so we have TV to watch movie about Jesus Christ. So that showed that like, prayer is so powerful, and not like show me, they show the girls who I tell.
Yeah, you know, Natalia, her whole life just really moves me. She's actually living in New York City now. When she got out of jail, when she got out of jail, she went to the Bowery Mission in New York State. I don't know if anybody's familiar with the Bowery Mission. And we lost touch because I was in rehab and she left jail when I was in rehab. And I was very worried, where did Natalia go? Because you know what, you really become attached to these women and you love them and you want to follow up with them. So one day after I got out of rehab, because I wasn't able to have my phone when I was in rehab, this text comes through and it's a picture of Natalia on the street in New York City passing out tracts. Yeah, and I was like, oh God, she's still walking with the Lord. This is awesome, So, it's amazing. I just love what I do, and I just thank you so much for your support here, because if it weren't for the support and the prayers of this church, I wouldn't be able to do what I do. So thank you again. And I also want to mention, if I could, just a few minutes about Angel Tree. Sandy is our warrior for the Angel Tree program. Now, every Christmas we do Christmas presents. How many people are familiar with Angel Tree? Raise your hand. Oh, awesome. Okay, great. So what we do is in October, in about a couple months, I'm going to be getting a whole list of about 100 children from Rahway State Prison, and their father is there incarcerated, and we're going to buy gifts for their children. And then we go and deliver them in behalf of their fathers. Okay, so their kids think their dad actually went out and bought the gift. Now, if they're small, then they really think their dad went out shopping. But if they're older, then they know their dad is in prison and he couldn't have gone out to go shopping. So we kind of do that on behalf of the people in prison. And it really, a lot of these guys are not unsaved. They can't understand why a church would come along and buy gifts for their children. So I'm going to get the names, I'm going to get the ages, and I'm hoping at least maybe 20 people could sign up to buy a gift. We ask that you spend $25 to $30, okay? And we ask you not to buy like guns, knives, and spears and all that kind of stuff. Okay, usually like crafty items that are around that age-appropriate gift, and then you wrap it up and you bring it to the church, and then Sandy will organize them all, and the people go out and deliver them. And if you would like to deliver them and meet your child, you can do that also. And basically, the reason why we do this is that the Christmas gifts are just a vehicle to get into people's homes to share the gospel. Okay, that's what it's all about, the gospel. And they each get a Jesus DVD, a film, and the gospel is through that also. So if you would like to do that, Sandy's going to be in the, where? In the fellowship hall with a sign-up list, okay? And you can sign up for how many children you'd like to sponsor. And if you can't shop and you just want to donate toward that, you can also do that. If you'd like to deliver, please make that, let her know that. And we would love for your church to be a part of the Angel Tree program, okay? Thank you.
Debbie and Natalia, thank you. We're so happy that you are with us here today. All right, brother, let's go.
Praise the Lord. God bless you.
You too. Hey, for those of you guys who have not yet met my friend and brother, this is Willis. So please give him a nice grace welcome. His lovely wife Sharon is here as well, so we're so happy and thankful that you're here. This is one of my favorite dudes.
Thank you so much.
Yes, I'm
Appreciate you.
so
God bless you.
grateful, so grateful to have you here. Willis, I thought maybe for those who don't know you, that you could tell them just a little bit about your life, how you met Debbie, how you became familiar with Our Father's persistent love, and just a little bit about your redemption story, because you have a redemption story too. So maybe just go back a little and tell us some history, and we'll catch up with a little bit that's happening now.
All right. Well, the first thing is just want to thank every one of you for having us. I really appreciate you. For those of you who don't know me, I know the pastor just introduced me. I tell you, it would take a long time, of course, to share all that God has done in bringing me to where I am at this particular time in my life. But I'm actually on the other side of Debbie's ministry. I'm the person who would be the beneficiary of everything that she brought to the prison that I was actually at when we met. I was unsaved, had a long sentence in front of me, 50 years. I'm at the age of 30 years old. And what kind of hope would you even consider having, knowing that it's possible that you're going to be 80 years old when you come home from prison? Of course, God had another plan, and I couldn't see that at that particular time. But one of the main things that comes back to my mind is a gentleman that I met, Philip. I can actually call him Philip the Evangelist, of course, because he started chasing me when I first got to the prison. But lo and behold, he never knew anything about me. He had not an inkling of who I was. So for him to bring my favorite dish, and some of you have heard this, up to my cell and reach it through the little hole that was in the door had to be all Jesus Christ. I'm just telling you, it was the Lord Jesus Christ that was found in his heart that drove him to bring a dish that was my favorite that my mom made when I was coming up. This is the first steps that God made towards me becoming a saved man. Of course, I fast forward. I met the Lord. He began to start operating in my life. I remember Debbie. They began Our Father's Persistent Love Ministry, and they were coming from year to year to year with banquets and just sharing their love of the Lord with me and other inmates. That there's another way, that there is still hope, and that there is a way out of the predicament that I myself personally was a part of. I'll just kind of halt there.
Yeah. One of the things I was going to say is, you're given a 50-year sentence, and I mean, any of us when given something like that would fall into a place of despair. And what ended up being a season of your life looked like it was going to be for the rest of your life. And I think for all of us, we hit those spots in our lives, whatever it might be. I mean, for you it was incarceration, but there are a lot of different places that we have to navigate through. It didn't end up being as long as you thought, but how did you navigate that space when all seemed kind of lost and dark and sort of hopeless? Because, I mean, you're here today, so what was it that helped you get to a place where you were able to kind of push through when you didn't think you could?
Well, I tell you, as I was sitting there and I was kind of debating about what I would talk about, one of the things that came home to me that I remembered the most was towards the early moments of my conversion. I remember how in the very small cell that I had to go back to every day whenever I was done work or whatever have you. I remember there were nights upon nights upon nights where I would just lay on my bed and I would just cry out, God, what do you want me to do? And I never knew that there was actually a verse in the Bible where God smote Saul to the ground, and one of the first things he responded was, Lord, what will you have me do? I never knew that was in the Bible, but I remember early in my conversion, that's where I was, God, you see where I'm at, like, what are you going to do with me? I mean, I just remember constantly asking God, Lord, what are you going to do with my life?
Yeah.
And the clear response and what I began to start throwing myself into was just the study of God's word. I said, God, I'm going to study your word. I'm going to read. I'm going to do courses. I'm going to do whatever I need to do to get to know that book.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. I just threw myself into the study of God's word.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's interesting from what you just said is sometimes when we hit that space, and all of us have, where we hit that dark space and we're not sure how long we're going to have to be there and we want out as soon as we can, some of us kind of isolate and we spiral down and we sort of turn away from God. Maybe we don't even mean to. It's not even our intention. But like when you hit that hard space, you turned to God and you opened up. You could have been angry at God, or you could have, you could have done something different, but you did that.
Yeah.
And you were still really even just searching.
Yes. What I kind of settled with in my heart was that in the middle of not knowing when the end would come, I did believe in my heart that there was still something that I can contribute to. I mean, even where I was. I mean, so I threw myself in not only just studying God's word, but witnessing. I just can't tell you how the Spirit of God just consistently overtook me. I mean, you want to talk about just on fire for the Lord and just wanting to tell everybody that when they opened the door in the short time that I had to be out of my cell, somebody better look out, because I'm telling them about the Lord. So, I mean, whenever I went through the Rotunda area, I was going to play basketball. You know, folk knew that Willis, you know, you want to talk about the term, what you talking about, Willis, right? I'm talking about the King. So I just constantly, and that there was where I had a hiding place, if you want to call it that. I knew that I still had a long time ahead of me. And you know, no matter how deep you are in whatever you've put yourself into, there can be hope in it. There can be like, you know what, I can do something here positive, even though I got to be here. Didn't matter that I was there, I just knew that there was still something I can do. And I found a lot of comfort in that. I just found a lot of joy in, even though I was locked up, you know, there are people that were in there that some of them still locked up to this day, here 23 years later. But I found a lot of comfort in just witnessing to even them that were locked up. And God opened a lot of doors to me. I mean, look, he brought me my lovely wife who stood with me for 15 years. So it's just amazing how, you know, God just did some amazing stuff with me on the backside of a prison where I could have easily given up and said, I'm here, I might as well make the worst of it.
Yeah.
And the enemy kind of trapped me a couple of times with that. But I fought through, and gratefully, you know, I had Debbie coming in and Philip and just so many other people that got around me to encourage me to just keep going.
Yeah.
So praise the Lord.
You know, we have that picture in the scriptures of the Israelites when they were called to leave slavery and move into the land of promise, that they were afraid, and initially there was a whole generation of them that had to like wander around until they died out. They spent 40 years in something that should have really only taken about 30 days.
Exactly.
And so what I found so profound in what you had to say was, if you're in a bad space, you might as well do something good with it anyway.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And what happens is, as you're in that space, as you continue to do good, it's amazing the doors that do open to you. And you don't have to end up staying in the space you don't want to be for as long as you thought. Mm-hmm. You thought 50 years. That's what they told you.
Yeah.
Now, how long did it end up being?
It ended up, and this is an interesting part of it, it ended up only being 19 years and 8 months. Now you say, that's a long time, right? Interesting, there's a really cute story behind it only being that long. The judge, December the 6th of 94, when he sentenced me, when he gave me the 50 years, you're going to do 20, he said, and you will be 50 before you come home. And that's what he said, the judge who was standing in front of me, who's in charge of the land. God said, it's going to be 19 years and 8 months. Now, so here's the interesting thing about it. I was 30, 20 would have been 50. God said, you'll be 49. I'm like, okay, I'll take 49, but it's just amazing how God just has a way of just being faithful to us when we're faithful to him. It just, you know, you just can't imagine. And do we have our bumps and bruises along the way? Even as born-again believers, we do. But we just get right back up off the ground and say, God, forgive me, and we just get right back on the highway of holiness. And I had to do it a bunch in my life. It's so cool.
Yeah.
So cool.
He has such great spirit, doesn't he? You can just, like, in his presence, it's just such an inspiration to me personally and to all of us. Now, quick, we just got a couple minutes here. I long for a voice like yours. All good pastors should have that voice, for sure. I didn't get that, but you did. Now, tell us a little bit about what's going on with you today, because I think these guys would really want to hear it.
Okay. Now, I'm going to try to keep this short as possible, because he said a few minutes. All right?
I have to remind him of that.
Yeah, amen. Well, we are actually in the process of waiting for a gentleman to come down to okay us for a building. So I say that first. What I mean by that is Mrs. Robinson came up with the ministry title, Grace Bridge Ministries, and Pastor Vincent's been working with me a great deal on how to go through the 501c3 and all the I's dotted, T's crossed, and we have our number. It's called an EIN number, your employment identification number, so on and so forth. So we're this close to having our own building. Now, we got a lot of work, because we're going to have to get out into the highways and the hedges and compel folk to come in to hear the vision, then run with it. But we are in a great, great, great place right now. Now, I would have never thought 23 years ago that I would have an opportunity to pastor other people. Now, let me say to you this. That is not an easy task, right? It is not easy to tell people that you believe God's called you to lead them, to go out into a community and plead with people to come to Christ. But that's the heart of it, really it is.
Yeah.
But that's where we are. We kind of do events from time to time in the parks where we are. It's just such an amazing opportunity Debbie said it. It's all about the gospel. And I'll leave you with one verse that Paul said. He says, "For I have determined to know nothing among you save Jesus Christ and Him crucified." If that is the focal point of our lives, God can take us to places we never think He could. So God bless you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, brother.
Praise the Lord.